Good evening and welcome to the 5-8, where we discuss each of the week's 5 most fucked up topics for 8 minutes. 5 topics, 8 minutes, 2 hosts, a guest, some singing, a lot of curse words, and as many cocktails as we deem necessary. LB, how's it going?
Yes, it's going.
Yeah?
I'm here.
Is that tequila on ice or your usual,
No, it's my water,
ice water on the rocks?
Ice water. Listen, when it gets, every once in a while, right? But when I know I won't burst into flames from menopause in the summer drinking sugar, I will bring back maybe a little cocktail hour, but it's way too hot. Actually, it's not that bad today, but it's been hot. It's been hot.
It's too darn hot. Let's just keep going with Cole Porter. Let's make that the routine.
Okay.
Anything goes. Too darn hot.
Nice.
Every time.
How are you? How was your week?
My week was, I don't remember. I feel like it was fine, but I feel like the older I get, and I don't know if it's just this age that we're living in, my memory is, I feel like I'm a character in a Christopher Nolan movie half the time. I'm like, what day is it? What am I doing? Who's doing what? Who now? And then I sit down and write like a 6,000 word piece about some obscure like Epstein Trump related thing without any problem. And then I can't remember.
You had a good interview on that topic today.
I did.
You did.
The wonderful Ellie Leonard. We'll talk about what she found out. Lots of stuff from the Epstein files this week.
He's back. It's back. It's not going away.
Epstein news. And we revealed our guest. We usually don't reveal our guest, but I felt confident that Kurt was not going to stand us up. So he's here. He's in the green room. We're excited to talk to him. One of our favorites. And he's got the new book out called The Breakup, which he did not put a hyphen in between break and up. So we have to ask him about that because these are important. These are important details.
Yeah. These are the details.
These are the details we want to, but we're excited to have him on. I don't even have any jokes. The first topic is a joke. The whole country is a joke, but I don't have any.
Yes. And jokes. People were noticing that we did, Chunk did add into the animation, opening animation, this catering card. So if you missed that, make sure you catch it this time. So let's just get into it. Let's get to our guest as soon as we can. I'm going to put the timer on. Yeah. Why are we talking about this? I guess we need to, right?
We have to, because what the media discusses and what people discuss, because the media is discussing it, we can't just pretend it didn't happen and avoid it.
Right.
I feel like the entire Trump White House apparatus is one big, very mediocre writer's room from a terrible soap opera that's been on forever. Hence, as the catering cart turns, the title of this segment. And they're just out of ideas at this point. There's no ideas. We have Melania. Is it the real Melania or the fake Melania? We don't know. We've seen that before. They debuted that like 6 seasons ago. That's not new anymore.
That's way long ago. Yeah.
So they're like, any political show has to have oh my God, what happens if somebody tries to assassinate the president? That's always a big deal. If it's the West Wing or Scandal or one of these shows, always is a thing that has to happen.
Yeah.
And what happens with that? And, they keep trying it. It doesn't really take, it's the ratings don't go up, and maybe that we'll try doing it abroad this time, and we'll have it. So there's all these details leak out, and apparently there was a plane, and then there was another plane, and then they put him in a car. I'm going to be honest. I didn't read the details because this is my point with the segment. I don't fucking care. I don't care. I don't want to watch the show anymore. It's a stupid show. The writers' room are morons. It's a soap opera. I don't care why What's-Her-Nose Levitt left. I don't care if she's having beef with Natalie Harp, who changes Trump's diapers. I don't know who this person is that's buzzing her belly button every time Trump falls asleep. This is preposterous stuff.
I know.
This is not serious stuff. This is stuff that TV shows that have gone on way too long resort to. This is what's happening.
It's long jump the shark is sort of the thing.
My God. There sure was a shark in that too. In the intro. Did you see the shark? I think maybe that's what he meant by putting the shark there. Now, and this is how preposterous it is. First of all, Trump cannot fit in a catering cart. Okay.
I know.
Container from a container ship, maybe not a, give me a fucking break. I don't believe it. I don't believe a word any of these people say. I don't have particular sympathy for the decoys that are on the other plane, because what most of the White House press corps is like MAGA people. They're not real journalists on there anyway now at this point.
Yeah.
Wrong about that. I don't care. I just don't care. We are living in a reality that's so fucking stupid and so batshit. You texted me this morning. I think the entire country has gone crazy, and I was like,
"Yes, no, it's madness."
But in what way?
Yeah.
But it's so crazy. How crazy is it? It's so crazy that the only person who made any sense in this whole thing was the Iranian foreign minister, who said, why would we try to kill Trump? We want him to be the president of the United States. He's hurting you people. And yes,
he handed them territory they never would have had before, and overhauled their regime for them. So we have they're the kind of the worst tiers in power.
It's just,
yeah, I guess. Oh God. Okay.
Were they really in danger? Was there ever any danger? I don't think there was any danger. I think it's bullshit.
Here's the thing. Well, here's the thing that for me is sort of like, I'm in that you can't have it both ways.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, if he can be safe and secure in a catering cart, I don't know why we need a gajillion-dollar ballroom and a great big hole where the East Wing used to be for some military bunker, and that's going in a catering cart kept him safe from a terror regime that apparently had some massive plot to assassinate him, and would have been successful if he wasn't in this incredible catering cart.
Apparently.
Eating the Big Macs or whatever he's got in there. Okay, so there's that. But even more to that point, I was told by the Secretary of War, Secretary of Defense, whoever he is, and the administration, and the lying liar Carolyn Leavitt, over and over and over again, in very clear terms, no ambiguity, that the Iranian military regime had been destroyed and obliterated, that their drone capacity was gone, obliterated, that this war that Trump and Bibi cooked up had been won 37 times now. Every single time they win it, we're told that Iran has no capabilities. They have annihilated the capabilities. They can't do anything. They're completely neutered. And so why would Air Force One be at risk, be in danger? So it's sort of like you can't have both these things.
Right.
Do they have capabilities or do they not? Did we obliterate them or did we not? And so what I find infuriating, as just as much as you find it's paying attention to this instead of talking about other stuff that's really important, really affecting the nation. And this is the big distraction and everyone's falling for it and whatever. And it is craven and disgusting and unreal. But it's the gaslighting around all of this.
Yeah.
Of and the fact that there's no depth in the reporting, and no reporters asked him that. And I haven't seen anybody, I haven't been watching a lot of news, but I haven't read or seen anyone on the news or read in any kind of legacy publication, unless I missed it, any journalists there asking that question. How could you have been at risk if Iran's capability, missile, drone, all airspace capability, and their entire military terror regime had been obliterated? All their capabilities are done because we won this stupid war over and over and over and over again. How can that be so that the president of the United States was at risk on Air Force One? It's not like he was at risk, I don't know, sitting in an ice cream shop on Martha's Vineyard. What, right?
The CIA didn't think he was at risk. The whole thing stinks to high.
No, nobody thought he was at risk.
Yeah,
so
it's just
it's just sort of like, even the fake stuff or the whatever it is, whatever the purpose of this whole debacle is, it's in and of itself so shallow in the thinking and the construction of it and the presentation of it and the reporting on it, so as to not, and no one's realizing this is a direct contradiction to what came out flying out of their mouths, and that's not being called out. These two things can't exist together. They cannot. And no one's calling that out. And that's what's making me go, oh my God. But that actually wasn't why I thought the whole country had gone mad. We can pivot. No. We're at the 8 minutes here. Let's go to the next topic.
4 legs good, 2 legs better. That's what it was. Not 4 legs good, 2 legs bad.
Oh.
I'm just Orwelling.
You're Orwelling yourself?
I'm Orwelling
I didn't catch that one. My brain, because I'm trying to work this clock. Yeah. Okay, so what do you have on the torture memos? Let's go on that. Is that what I think it is?
This is the whole idea is, and you can talk about why you think the country's going crazy, but this government of Trump, this regime, is actively trying to torture us in a lot of different ways and on a lot of different fronts. And I think it's an active thing that they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And it's intentional, it's active, it's, and what the purpose is ultimately probably is different depending on which person is involved. I think Jared Kushner has different motives than Trump does. I think, Hegseth has different motives than Marco Rubio and so on. But the overarching purpose is that they want us to suffer. And
it's harm. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a cruelty that runs through. And that's really, if you distill the character traits of everyone working in this administration, the cruelty is what remains when all is said and done. Whether it's Stephen Miller and his weird, almost fetishistic desire to separate kids from their parents, and the racism and all of that, or this thing with ICE and they have this sounds like a superhero movie thing. They've got electricity gloves that they're going to wear because of I guess if you have 25 ICE guys and 2 terrified
mothers
women in a shelter, oh my God, these guys might be in danger. They might trip on a shoelace or have a heart attack trying to wield all this stuff around. So now they have these fancy schmancy.
It's like electric prods, cattle prods, that level of electricity running through gloves so that they can put their hands on. It's also a way around any kind of real training, because we know the training is all shortened. So anybody can wear these gloves, get their ICE badge, and go out, and you just have to put your hands on somebody, and you could be killing them. It's so much electrocution going through this equipment. So this is what our law enforcement is now wearing against our own citizenry. And then, for me, it was why I thought we just had completely gone mad was the reporting from the military families that their loved ones on these ships were throwing themselves overboard.
Yeah, the USS Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, and I think there's another boat as well, another ship as well, where there were some, just the sort of the no food, no clean showers, constant rotation, all these days out at sea. It's almost 3 times the length, I think, of any deployment when it comes to being out at sea and just sort of waiting. And then Pete Hegseth, just, after, we knew we were going to talk about this, just before we came on air, tweeted out, wrote something about how it's all un-American lies, or lies from un-Americans. What did he say?
Something
so he's calling the mothers and the fathers, the family members, the loved ones, the wives and husbands of the sailors out at sea who are suffering, and some of them throwing themselves overboard, like throwing yourself out of a building. That's why it was like, oh my God, this is like terrorism. Just because that's a fate worse than what they were having to be forced to live through, calling those family members and liars and un-American.
He said facts for the fake disgusting. America-hating news. That's
America,
what he tweeted.
America hating.
And then he retweeted or quote tweeted something from the acting secretary of the Navy saying the USS Abraham Lincoln crushed their deployment and will return home soon as part of a planned rotation. The acting Secretary of the Navy is named Hung Kao, which means that I'm sure Pete Hegseth is very happy to know that the acting Secretary of the Navy is in fact hung. I think he's going to be happy about that.
Oh, God.
These people are prepositorous. Why is there an acting Secretary of the Navy? Why can't we have an actual person that was approved by the Senate?
I don't know. I can't. How he survives this, I don't know. It's not going to go, anyone who knows military families, this isn't going away quietly. It's not.
And it shouldn't. It
shouldn't. Yeah. So let's see if he survives even, Trump put him in the reporting was he took him with him in the catering car. So left Rubio on the plane to be shot down or whatever, but took Hegseth with him. So something's going on there between those two that's creepy and vile. It's
7 minutes in the closet with Pete Hegseth. Very exciting. Very exciting. Brings back middle school days. But seriously, we've talked on the show and lots of times about the disrespect that Trump has for the military, the suckers and losers comments. And all this stuff. What they're doing to the military right now is a whole new level of disrespect. It's almost
just awful.
I saw that story and I couldn't even I couldn't even process it because it's so bad and so horrifying. Like we have, like you said on the phone before, these are kids. These 18, 19,
20-year-olds.
And it's not fun to be on this shit doing that. And it's not like it's for any discernible purpose. There's no purpose. Cocaine hair gel says we have to go there to be high tea, and that this isn't World War II. This isn't World War I. This is
literally they have 37 times declared the war won. So why are our sailors getting moldy food, no soap for showers, no clean water, and stuck out at sea? What is going on? Like that the Navy has been brought to its knees in this way to not even be able to care. While Pete Hegseth, we know that also the reporting that he spent, what was it? Several tens of millions of dollars on catering, private catering, like it's lobster and all this
King
stuff.
Crab, baby. King Crab.
Yeah, King Crab. What? Like, how could this have fallen apart to this degree? Also, to sort of say we're bringing them back now, there is part of a rotation. Rotations, as I understand it, are established before the ship even leaves, right? Like it's established weeks in advance. As soon as the war plan is in place, you have your rotations in place. So now, after the fact, after the news breaks, all of a sudden there's a rotation that wasn't planned before. It's just. There's an obscenity to this particular story for me. There's an obscenity to it that it's sad, and I'm so sad for our sailors and their family.
Yeah, it's
tragic.
It is. It's just the level of disrespect is off the charts.
Off the charts.
And that's another cruelty, is being cruel to the members of our military.
Yeah.
And then you have the other stuff, the economic bullshit. Gas up over $4 again, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You have the disease. RFK Jr. just out there doing his best to get everyone sick.
Salmonella now, back in the
salmonella, diarrhea, lettuce, measles, mumps, and the idea that we've said this before. The single best thing about being alive right now is vaccines. There's nothing. I don't know what number 2 is, but nothing comes close. That is literally the best thing about being alive right now, historically. And any person throughout history, if you could tell them what a vaccine was, would run to go get one.
Yeah.
Without exception. Even all the hippy dippies from, follow the gourd times would be like, what? Yeah. I don't have to have, this and that.
I know.
And it's an attack on our minds. It's on our souls, on our spirits. This is where I would have segued into our libidos, because that's what the media is about. But Chunk is working overtime because he did the intro, so we're going to be late with the media, which is good.
Which is good because we can get to our guests.
It's a good end of the show kind of vibe anyway.
Okay, good. We'll have.
And we
it
want to
for the
have
end
our
of the
guests
show.
come on. We don't want to keep our guests waiting.
We don't want to keep Kurt waiting.
Yeah. He is a friend of the show. He's a co-founder of Spy Magazine. He's the author of Fantasyland, Evil Geniuses, and he's written a new novel called The Breakup. Kurt Andersen, welcome back.
Kurt Andersen.
Hello, kids.
How are
Good to
you?
be back.
That is, but in all seriousness, that is a question that we ask people, and we expect a response, because everything is just, I don't know if you've seen, things are really not so great now. So
Really?
Is
there something going on or what?
It's craziness. The WNBA can't focus on the games. Everything is haywire. But seriously, how are you holding up? How are you doing?
You mean, how am I holding up in the terms of the larger chaos and cruelty afoot in America?
All of it.
All of it.
How are you, Kurt? How are you doing?
I have some kind of, I'm okay, actually. And,
good.
And, I mean, it's a character test for us all, isn't it? And I'm not joking. I mean, in a way, who knows how one is going to react to anything? I mean, either some personal trauma or some national trauma or whatever. And, I have felt, my kind of clock to midnight, like the nuclear scientists used to have, is closer to midnight than it's ever been in terms of, despair and worry and fretting about my children and hypothetical grandchildren. But, it's also, I don't know, I hate to say it, really interesting, isn't it?
We live in interesting times.
We do live in interesting times.
Yeah.
We do. Yeah.
So
and
now,
you've turned that. You've taken that and done something with it, as you do. Go ahead, Greg. You do your transition.
I was going to say, we'll talk about our opinion of the book, which is that it's very good, but we'll talk about it in a second. But like, what made you turn to fiction? Were you looking around like, everything is so preposterously unbelievable, I have to take refuge in the reality of fiction? Like, what made you decide to write a novel at this point in time? That's what
not precisely. I mean, I had written, from 1999 through 2017, I'd published 4 novels. So that's what I was doing. And I was also doing my radio show and writing this and that essay and whatnot. But so then I wrote these 2 big histories, which we've talked about in this show before. Evil Geniuses was the last one of the last 50 years and the hijacking of our political economy by the right and the rich. And then Fantasyland before that, which is a longer history about, why we're a different kind of American exceptionalism, why we have an iffy grip on reality and always have as a country. So I did those and they did well. I thought, I can do this. I can do these, I have no advanced degree, but I can pretend to be a historian. And so I thought, I had been, anyway, I thought, the third book in this kind of what a friend of mine called your Fucking of America series, so it could be a trilogy. I thought, maybe I should write about the future. And then I realized, just kind of almost, I thought, no, what? I'm just going to speculate about what happens. Do we break up? Do we do this? Does it all come okay? I wasn't interested in that. And I thought, no, I will return to fiction to do this speculative, as plausible as I can make it, as realistic as I can make it, look at what might happen over the next 10 and 20 years. The Breakup, my new novel, guys.
The Breakup, the new novel. So it's for those of you who because it's not quite out yet. It's going to come out soon, in like next week.
It's out next Tuesday. Although I've already gotten reports of it being sold here and there in bookstores, which is
okay.
exciting.
Wonderful. I think this is a perfect end of summer read. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. I just got into it. But just to sort of set it up for everybody, you go into the future. A couple of decades after there's been this sort of second Civil War II, like the video game, right? Or whatever. But you imagine there's a lot of imagining in that. So that's sort of the backstory to where we then arrive with our characters who are a married couple also facing this divorce, right? So you have the breakup of the nation and the breakup of this couple, of these 2 people, and they currently live in 2 different, the nation's in 2 different It's two different nations now. Now, I have been calling privately with Greg. I've been saying, I want a divorce. We need a divorce. I've been using that term, like, why can't we just have a divorce? Why do we need to have a civil war? What the hell? What, like, can't we just divorce? You went into the imagining of kind of both, but that we got there through this sort of big acts of violence that were this sort of terrorism that we've been calling stochastic terrorism becomes organized. And in the future where we've got the tools of war, like what we're seeing in Ukraine and what we know is coming with robots and all that. So I just wanted to kind of hear what you have to say about how you went into imagining the backstory, which hasn't happened yet, for the future story, which you're telling. What was your process of getting in there and thinking about what a civil war would look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had written these two histories and which are all about research. And I was, I used to be a journalist. So even when I write novels or when I wrote historical novels about the 1840s, I did a lot of research. So I do a lot of research, and that's what I do. So I started doing a lot of research. One of the things I found about, how could this lead to what kind of breakup? I discovered this thing, and I wrote a piece in the Times, in the op-ed this week, about this very thing. What people have started calling, I discovered not so long ago, the soft secession that is going on now, which is to say all of these ways, starting a dozen years ago with both sanctuary cities saying, no, we're not going to execute deportations as you want. We're going to let migrants be here. And God knows the last year and a half has become a whole different thing. And similarly, which I barely remembered at the time, I didn't know about, these red states, these right-wing places, 12 states and 1,000 counties have declared themselves Second Amendment sanctuaries, where they've said, we're not going to enforce any federal laws, and we're instructing our police and state troopers and everybody else not to enforce these laws. So that was sort of the beginning that nobody ever put together as the beginning of these kind of emergent separate nations in a way. And these interstate climate alliances, all these things. And I sort of suddenly thought, as I was doing the research, wait, it's already in this low-key, non-violent way underway. And that was, before Trump, right? But then, Obama made the right freak out. Biden made the left get crazier. Governor Abbott in Texas has an armed showdown between his National Guard and the federal border agents. And so there's all that, and there's tons of it. And that's what that piece is about. So as I was imagining this future, I thought, okay, the ground has already been softened in a certain way. And again, I started writing in 2022. Trump was out of office. There was no generative AI. It was a different world, right, than it is now. So, but I was imagining, again, a plausible backstory about how we get from here to there. And I picked the time. I didn't want it to be, next year. I wanted it to be kind of far enough away that it was plausible. So I just read and thought and started writing my, characters and basically had it planned that there would be this backstory, which, as you say, I don't go into great detail about, although the war, the violence itself, the uprising itself, I have these flashbacks to pieces of journalism that happened in the 2030s when the violence takes place. But how the Democrats come back, good news, and they take advantage of their new power. They make Washington D.C. a state and Puerto Rico a state, and the out of luck, Moggins and various assorted nuts can't take it anymore and start committing this organized violence. So, and that happens, 10 years from now, and it takes 7 or 8 years to figure out, well, okay, this is it. And one of my animating thoughts about, again, the shortest form answer to your question is, I find it hard to believe we're going to get to a national divorce like Czechoslovakia did right after.
No balkanization, right?
Well, I think the Czechoslovakia amazingly had the most peaceful breakup in history. Right? I mean, they
Velvet divorce
era, suddenly they divorced. They really, it was like no fault divorce. Like, oh, check Republic over here. We don't like you. You don't like us. Let's split. And they did. And it was fine. Now, I just don't see that happening in the United States. And that, of course, was the pre-internet era with all of its digital, alternate realities that keep people riled up 24 hours a day. So I again, for imagining a story, I thought, okay, something we talked about. Oh, when's the fever going to break? Right? We've been talking about that for 10 years. Well, when's this crazy fever polarization going to stop? I thought, well, it's not ever going to stop until some or get to the next phase, until something awful happens, like, say, terrorism afoot in a big way that it's never been in the United States. And so that's the story I wrote. And that's how we get there. That's how we, and instead of like in the Civil War, the actual Civil War, where it was all about keeping the Union intact, this relatively new Union intact, that was Lincoln, that was everybody's, or everybody in the North, goal. And like, I think if this happened this time, it'd be like, well, no, okay, good, bye, we're done, and so it would be a very different thing. Anyway, so it was, I don't want to say, and it makes for a better story, but of course it does. But I actually do think, in terms of, I'm not saying this will happen, but I'm saying it could happen, and I think I've depicted it, the breakup, plausibly, and I think, and I think it's worth, in addition to being entertaining, interesting, all the things that I hope novels are supposed to be, it puts on the table in a certain way this contingency, this possible plausible scenario for where we are, because it's not just going to, Trump is going to go, right? Mm-hmm. But we're not just going to snap back and revert to, oh gosh, it's good again. It's just like 2010 again, or whatever. Oh, you don't like, I just don't see it. I think we've gone too far, and in terms of the contempt, the mutual contempt,
Yeah.
As you
and the corruption. It's hard to come back from this level of corruption.
Well, yeah, and that's a whole other thing. Although it wouldn't be hard in that particular case, it seems to me, Republicans, once he's gone, once the Trump regime, the Trump family dynasty, all that is gone. Like, I don't know that that's a thing that the rats, as they leave the sinking ship, and the Republicans say, well, no, we hated that. Look, we hated that. I mean, they can divorce themselves from that. They can, and they could even prosecute some of the corruptees and corruptors. So I don't know that that's the most lasting. I mean, it's an unimaginable new level of corruption that we have never seen in this country, just by far. I mean, I went back and looked at, the Teapot Dome scandal. It was nothing. Yeah. I mean, and that's as bad as we got. That's the trope we have about presidential corruption. So I don't know. Yeah, it's amazing and remarkable, as so many things are. But I mean, I worry about just all the other of all the, no, we don't need to business. Yeah, all the other norms that have been smashed, and that kept us together, 340 million people.
You write in the op-ed, which you explore these ideas. This came out. And in fact, I saw it pop up. I saw it in the thing, and I didn't realize you wrote it. I was like, oh, I should go back and read that. And then, of course, you wrote it. So You write, it's not yet a divorce. It's more like a bitter, loveless marriage in which the parties stay technically but less enthusiastically united because splitting up is too complicated or dreadful or expensive. I think that pretty much nails it. I think that nails it.
And then my editor helped me with, it's like, I don't even want to take full credit for the final line of the piece, which is, and in the end, if we get there and there's no hope and we can't figure this out, and we can't have a nice amicable divorce, as you, Stephanie, started talking about, well then, it still may be.
Oh, look at that.
Did he freeze or I thought I froze?
He froze. No.
I don't know. Is it the Russians trying to?
Are we back?
Oh, he's
you're
back.
back.
Okay.
You're back.
I'm unfrozen.
So you're unfrozen. The last line of the piece. Yeah.
Oh, the last line of the piece was well, and if it gets to this, and we can't, have some kind of devolution to greater individual state independence or something that would calm it down, but would have to be a set of radical changes to get there, because this ain't working, But if we have to just split up, it probably might be better for the kids, was the last line, as in a divorce,
Yeah.
And I think it's true in divorces, and it literally true for, well, my children, your children, people's children as well, for the future. I do. Could be the only bad option we have.
I've been workshopping names. I think American Coalition of Eastern States, which is ACEs. I'm liking that one. What do you think?
See, but it's also the West. It's lost.
Yeah.
And also one of my theories of this case, and again, this is all about your initial question, Stephanie. As I was thinking about it, figuring out, I think if it came down to horrible violence, and okay, this is it. Okay, we're seceding, we're splitting up. I think a lot of places that are red states would say maybe not. I think the United States, and that's how I depict it, would keep a lot of swing and recently redder states, in terms of today's politics. Once the nuts with guns start killing people and blowing stuff up, I don't think that's as popular as the Mike Flynns of the world and the people who have no skin in the game like to talk about online and on TikTok and everywhere else.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing to consider now, we're just talking about breakup. Like, if you look at a map of the United States and what is red and what is blue, literally every place that generates any money at all is blue. So you have to deal with that. So if you're going to have like all the red people come together, then that's going to be, we're going to have to give them aid.
Well, we are not, because we don't give foreign aid anymore. So we're not going to give them foreign aid. Well, and one of the wrinkles I have in my story that is happening now in 2045 with secessionist remorse at the last minute, because the final, there's been delays in the final breakup, but it's now at the end of this year, 2045, and the Westerners are, because they're prosperous, they're not poor, they're like New York and California and all the blue places, paying in more to the federal government than they're getting back, and they're saying, well, maybe we don't really want to be hooked up with these southern states, these, and so no, it would be an economic disaster if you live in Georgia or somewhere.
Alabama got rid of all the immigrants and all of the crops died on the vine.
Well, exactly. And again, in my vision, the only way to do this, it can't be like the Civil War was, the 11, 13 states, whatever, Confederate states, and you draw a line and that's it. You would have to carve out dozens, scores, 90 in my book, what I call independent metropolitan regions, these big blue things that are like islands across the red.
West Berlin.
Like many West Berlins, exactly, in the Cold War. And which would mean, to your point, that like suddenly it's a much poorer country. It's not quite like, North Korea versus South Korea, but like getting toward there,
Yeah, it doesn't sound like fun to me. But the problem is that there is no divide. Realistically speaking, first of all, there's no dividing line.
Yeah.
Second of all, we don't want to abandon everybody that lives in all these other places. I just don't think it's right.
No, exactly.
I know a lot of people in Texas, and I don't want to abandon them to this horrible, death.
I got it all worked out, Greg. I got it all worked out. Texas is cut in half between West and East. There's a period.
No. I have friends from Texas in the house right now.
Well, after the war, there's a long period, so people are moving. There's a great migration all over, and people are like, I'm getting out of here. And so there's a process for getting out of where you don't want to be. Similarly,
AI could make it work. They could just swap homes. They could be.
Well, the AI could definitely make it work in terms of figuring out this insane 3,000-mile wide gerrymander that would have to take place to figure out the new borders.
Well, hey, on that note, actually, I want to talk about your characters, your main characters,
Thanks.
just for a second. So Asher and Natalie, how did
Mhm.
you arrive at them? I mean, obviously, it was like you could have. There's so many different combinations of family. And it felt very. They felt so familiar to me. I gotta say, I kind of in love with them both a little bit, and that they're from different places, that they were observing, even in the backstory, they were observing what was happening differently within their own home. We're all sort of, so many people having that experience of, I think we're way further along into this is horrible what we're dealing with, and other, and someone else is like, oh no, this is just what's so this. You get some of that as sort of the underlying. You can see the differences between your two protagonists there. So, how did you arrive with them? What can we learn from them? What do they learn from this journey that they're on?
You're good at this, Stephanie.
Thank you.
I arrived at them because I wanted them to be plausibly very different. Like, say Alabama and New York are very different, or LA and, I don't know, Boise, Idaho. Well, actually, Boise and LA are all that different, but like some, rural places. Anyway, I wanted to make them different. I wanted them to have had different experience. Asher grew up, well-to-do, this long-time, well-to-do show business family in LA. And Natalie came to Cuba as a baby and grew up in East Tennessee, working class. Parents would struggle and got to middle class. And so but both are smart kids, were smart kids, and became, she's a writer and a poet, and he's an academic and a kind of mocker in the nonprofit scientific world. And he's a super, super by the book liberal, and she's not so much by the book. I mean, and that was the thing, right? I wanted them to be politically at odds, but I didn't want it to be MAGA lady and,
Right.
So, they're not that, but certainly in their worlds of academia and writer world, she counts as a conservative, if only because she's not anti-choice laws. She's not anti-Roe v. Wade, but she's basically pro-life and, and other things. She's skeptical of big government, all these things. So she's a conservative by some standards. She's kind of a middle of the road American by many. Anyway, so I wanted to make them at odds over these things, but not like crazily so. So that, I don't know. I always forget how I come up with characters, because neither of them are, versions of
that.
Me or my, I have written novels before where certain minor characters are that guy. That's that guy that I know.
Yeah.
But no, they're. I used to call my characters Frankensteins. They're bits of different things and people I know. These are that, but even less so. They're more, dare I say, fully fictional, characters, people I just made up. You start with these sort of stick figures, and then as you write and as you figure out the story, they become more flesh and blood, And,
they really, I don't normally go on about because, but
well, please go on.
No, they're great characters. So they popped immediately for me as individuals, and I kind of got them, and I felt like I knew them, and I was up for going on the ride with both of each of them. And part of that is structurally, you did something. I don't know if you've done this. I hadn't read your novels. I'll go back and look at your novels. But you chose a very brave structure, my friend, of writing in the first person for each of them, right? Yeah. So, which is why I was having that experience. It's just that's a real, I feel like as a writer, that's a risky thing to do and very courageous, and you pull it off, and it's great.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Wanting to compliment you on that, but I also want to ask you about that choice.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Choose to do first person and choose that structure.
Yeah, it was a new thing for me. And I mean, again, I don't want to make people think, oh, this is daunting and complex. And it's complicated.
No, it's fun.
But I don't think it's a hard read. But
so very entertaining.
Thank you. I had written my first 2 books were third person, and okay, good. Then I did a first person one of a woman, and I thought I would get more shit for writing the voice of a woman.
As a woman, yeah.
But only one, only from the New York Times. But
we don't like the New York Times anymore. That's
I still do.
Yeah.
But they let me write for them sometimes, so
that's right.
I love them. But no, and then I wrote this novel with, that Alec Baldwin starred in, basically, which was first person in Trump's voice. And that was a different thing. Anyway, I took 2 years to write this, as I do every book, more or less, but I wasn't doing my radio show. So I had a lot more hours per day in those 2 years to write it, which actually I found, it allowed me, among other things, to create this more complicated clockwork. Not so much a complicated novel as an experience for the reader, but as you were saying, with these
structure.
2 voices,
yeah.
and there's another character who has their own voice, and then there's this journalism, these pieces of journalism that are studying the thing to say how the war happened, and then there's another character-ish. I don't want to spoil what that is, but so it is complicated, and it requires, you're spinning a lot of plates, right? And so
as a writer, not as a reader, you do pull it off. As a writer,
good. It was, but I liked it, and again, given that it's fundamentally the story itself is about these 2 people who have been together and have loved each other, and are they? Is this a pre-divorce separation, or is it a not? And trying to, I didn't want one of them to tell the story, right? I needed both of them to tell the story, and tell the stories about each other. And there are several times where they tell the same versions of the same experience that they had, and as we all know from having been coupled, that's true sometimes, right? And so it was, I enjoyed it, and they became like as real, or maybe more. They became, but certainly the realest feeling characters to me than I've ever written in fiction. And before I wrote fiction, I used to read authors say, "Well, they sometimes just come alive and do surprising things." I thought, really?
No,
I don't
they
think
do.
so. But they do.
They surprise you.
And so, which is, it almost gives me goosebumps to say that, because it does. It's a spooky thing when it happens, and an exciting thing. It doesn't make it easy. And so it's like, oh, I don't have to write anymore. Just what are they going to do now? They do it. They write the book. But it is. And with these guys, these characters, they are. I wanted to make them a reflection, without being too on the nose, of the country, and it's. What a motley, heterogeneous place this experiment is, and of course it's difficult, and their marriage is something like that, in their stark differences in background and all of it, and point of view. So,
it's interesting. When they spoke to you, you did not betray them. So that's the job, right? You did a good job.
A nice way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah. You did a good job.
No, when you're feeling it in that moment, I feel like it's like surfing where you're riding the wave or whatever. That's a hackneyed analogy, but when you've got the character right, and I only write I can't not write in first person. I can't. It's weird. I can't.
But
do
2 different voices, like different.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you write it linearly, or did you write mostly Asher and then go back and
no. I wrote it linearly.
Yeah,
because,
that's what I thought.
you need one, or I decided I wanted one chapter to, and it's I wrote it chronologically. It's each chapter has a date.
Yeah.
So and it's very much that. So this happened yesterday. She responds to it this way, and so forth. You'll find in the second half of the book, when they go on this, they're separate. They've been separate for 9 months, almost 6, 7, 8, 9 months. And they get back together because they have a kid who's about to get out of high school, and they decide they're going on a college tour together. So they're reuniting to take their younger kid on a college tour. And so in that, most of the second half of the book, not all of it, it becomes a third person. There's a narrator suddenly, as there hadn't been before. So to your point again, Stephanie, it's complicated. It's like, and my editor said, "Oh, do you really want to go from first person to third person?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yep, I do."
Yeah.
And it was interesting in that case. And again, I may be getting too much into process, but
we like
No,
process.
it's fun. It's fun.
it gave me, the ability to suddenly, okay, you've gotten them. These two characters have introduced themselves. You have a sense of them. And now with their kid, who's just a kid that each of them report individually what she says, and are all together, literally in a car, driving around for 2,000 miles, visiting colleges. So, and seeing, the new America. But it allowed it to move fast, and it becomes, and I didn't do it for this reason, but I was happy that it was working this way, that it kind of moves fast, not only driving across the country, but then these action adventure events happen later in the book that the third person is how I thought you had to do them. So anyway, it was, so it is for kids who want to understand first person versus third person and how that works. It could be a little textbook just for that.
It could be. I was going to say, though, kids don't try this at home. I can't. Baby writers try this. Give it to
wait till you're old. Wait till you're old.
Wait till you've done a few of them. To circle back to bring the other bigger character in here, which is the nation, right, and the future.
Mm-hmm.
Have you, since you started this 2 years ago, have you seen anything start to happen that makes you go, "Oh my God"? Are you seeing the news a little bit differently, maybe than even Greg and I? Just because you imagined a future, and now are you seeing little things that make you go, "Holy shit, we're sort of heading in this direction of my imagination"?
Yes.
That's what
I started this around Thanksgiving. I started writing first writing around the end of 2022. As I say, Trump was out of office, probably not coming back. There was no generative AI yet. That didn't come for another few weeks after I started. and AI figures, as I knew it would, obviously big in this book. But so that has changed. But this second term of Trump, yes. When I started thinking about it, I don't know, 2020, whatever, and started writing in 2022, it seemed pretty far-fetched, almost maybe not too far-fetched, but I thought it was a little far-fetched that this could happen. I'm telling you, from the end of 2024 and certainly the beginning of 2025, I thought, okay, suddenly it was almost like a cinematic effect of my future going toward me, so I started worrying, like, oh, 10 years away for this violent uprising, too long, but I was basically done by then. So I thought, I'm not. I literally said, can I change it? Can I make it a few years? And that was just going to be, frankly, too complicated. So I didn't. But yes, to your question, I have felt it be more plausible, and whatever percentage, whatever chance I would assign to it ever happening has certainly gone from, X percent to 2X percent. I mean, really, it just seems more, the idea of there being a way out of, no, we'll just go back to normal, given this last year and a half and the next 2.5, which won't be better, I don't think, even God willing, if we take half of the Congress or more. It'll be better because of that, but who knows? I mean, so no, it seems less. I don't want to say more prescient. but just more plausible.
February 2045 is not. It sounds like it's far away when you write it out, but it's really not. I mean, it'll be here before you know it, as they say. I feel like at a certain age, like 19 years. I mean, okay, 19 years ago, 2007. That didn't seem so long ago. Right. That's the thing. It's and we have to remember that the country's already been here for 250 years, and the anomaly, the historical anomaly of the Pax Americana is really remarkable, and I think something most people in the United States take absolutely for granted. And I've watched Trump sledgehammer and try to break apart as he has the East Wing. You know, breaking up NATO, and NATO is directly responsible for this, I think, and destroying that is. I'm reading this book now that I found at the used bookstore in Provincetown by Rebecca West called, what is it? Black Lamb and Gray Falcon, it's this big, thick book about her travels to Yugoslavia in 1937. But there's a lot of like history in there where she talks. It's fascinating, actually, where she talks about basically all the shit that the Slavs had to deal with from their various occupiers over time, and how much trouble there was, and how much war, and how much this and that. And you read that and you think, my God, we've been so lucky in this country. But, you know, luck runs out. You know, it does. And
in that way, I mean, in so many ways, when I watch Trump and see what he does, he reflects various different little large and obvious bad versions of, you know, the ugly American, but some small ones. Like when he said, who was asking? One of his minions was saying, is this gonna work out about something? And he said, oh yeah, you know why? Because it always works out. Meaning for me, you know, and just this kind of
selfishness.
Selfishness and I don't even want to call it optimism, because it's just about, I always get away with it, is what he could say. But you know, I mean, as you say, America has been so lucky, and it's such a, I mean, from the get-go, right? I mean, and we you know, when we had the Civil War, like, okay. And one thing this has made me, because I thought a lot about the Civil War, you know, as I was writing this and preparing to write about it, and I have come to think about it somewhat differently, which is to say, I mean, that it was a mistake. I mean, and people obviously, this is kind of, but like to let the South essentially without, yes, they couldn't have slavery, but basically revert otherwise, like they didn't pay too big of a price ultimately for having a slaveholders rebellion, you know? I mean, and, you know, I mean, some more, you know, de-slavification, you know, I mean, a more vicious union aftermath, and, you know, yes, we had Reconstruction, but temporarily, all that, like, you know, as a friend of mine said to me the other day, you know, I've always thought, and he's, you know, a very historically fluent, well-known guy. And he said, you know, I've always thought that, you know, we should have, we get rid of slavery and then just, nope, they can't be citizens again. That's done. And he said, if that had happened, we would now be, in addition to the biggest country in the ways that we are, we would be the most progressive country on earth if we didn't have essentially the Confederacy and it's, you know, the Confederacy 9.0 of today or whatever it is to deal with. It was a sort of interesting, shocking alternate history he posed, you know?
No, that's interesting. Now, the Confederacy stuff today, it's like when you go get a colonic, whatever they get rid of in the colonic is that. Do you remember, like, it was in 2004?
One time there was a little Barbie shoe, like not for me, but like my colon therapist back in Los Angeles was like, I did see once a little Barbie shoe.
Oh, that's cute.
That had come through in the colonic, because, you know, they can see what's coming out. Yeah, one of Barbie, like that the woman had swallowed, I guess, when she was a child.
Well, Florida looks like something coming out of an intestine, doesn't it?
It actually does. But I remember in 2004 when Bush won re-election, which was the single saddest day that I spent in New York City, and I was there on 9/11.
Hold my beer, your future self would have said.
Right.
You know?
Well, yeah. I think everyone kind of thought that, but there was that somebody, you know, registered the URL that was just fuckthesouth.com. And it's like, how long are we going to keep this up? I mean, but the architecture of the government is such that it's like the card game asshole. It helps the slave states, and it's still helping the slave states. And it's not hard to fix it. The Senate has to be proportional to population somehow.
It's helping the slave states, plus Delaware and Vermont. But yes.
Yeah. Well,
Don't get Stephanie started on Vermont.
Don't get me started on Vermont. But truth and reconciliation, if handled with sort of trials, that also works. To actually have the truth be told in a widespread, no holds barred, we're bearing witness, but we're codifying this truth now, and we're all going to acknowledge this as truth in such a way that it cannot be romanticized or reworked or whatever, no matter 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 1,000 years later. I feel like that's also a workable solution. But I want that. I want that, or I want a divorce. That's what I want. I want that or a divorce.
When you first said that, I thought you meant you wanted a divorce from Greg on this show.
No.
Every time we have that word up, the comment board freaks out.
They freak out. Yeah. Mom and Dad aren't fighting everybody. Yeah. It's okay. It's not about us.
It's funny about the truth and reconciliation thing, and again, yes, please. Oh, yes, please go. But my fear is, and why that is much less plausible than it would have been, say 30 years ago, and it's really a large point of my book, Fantasyland, is that we this alternate reality thing, which is, again, I don't think going away, because we now have this infrastructure that we all use every second, which is to say the internet, that reinforces it, right? And so, truth and reconciliation about after South Africa and all the places that has taken place in some meaningful and healing way in countries. I mean, if you really have people who really, really believe the sky is not blue, it's green, and really believe that, all the untrue things that so many people believe and are not going to be talked out of, is, when we stop sharing a common view of what is real and what really happened, and how, then I don't know how you do that. And so the digital world of this century has made things like that, and returning to some kind of civic solidarity and normality, much, much harder to heal than it would have been.
I'm going to say, and then I want to ask about the book promo stuff, but maybe because I grew up Catholic, I don't believe in the divorce of the nation. I feel like the people that are bad are morally reprehensible, and anybody normal in an objective way. And what you said, Kurt, is true. We don't have agreed upon facts. That's the whole fucking problem. But if those people could see things as they really are, to get all William Blake here, that morally we're on the side of the good and the true and the just. That's just how it is, because we don't like racism, we don't like sexism, we don't like these things. So I feel like all of the bad can be shamed away if the good people and the people who are in the middle, if we bring out the good and make being racist and sexist and cruel and all this stuff so socially horrifyingly awful that people will not do it in public. This worked. We can do this.
We did do it, and I don't want to, as my character Natalie would do if she were here talking. So I'll sort of do some of her voice. But yes, that's true. But when you do define racism or sexism in excessively woke ways that make people who aren't racist, where it becomes a kind of Maoist over.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Definition. That didn't cause anything, but it's other than losing the 2024 election. But
it causes reaction. It's a reactionary.
Yes. And everybody, people who believe they're right, as we do, sometimes take it too far and saying, "Oh no, you have bad thoughts." We shouldn't have thought police or even speech police. We should have racism should be illegal. Sexism should
what
be
was
illegal.
your line about culture wars? What was it? Natalie was like, I didn't think the culture wars were.
Yeah, she thought the idea of letting culture wars rage on was a way to avoid a shooting war, really.
Right.
And, you know, and maybe they will be, but, you know.
But it sort of paved the way for it, is the thing.
Well, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, the way that, again, as I mentioned in that Times piece, when, you know, Civil War, you know, that pops up as a thing. Like, I remember, and again, one of my journalist characters talks about this when she's starting in journalism in 2022, that when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago and took the illegally taken classified files, suddenly the internet and the right-wing media sphere was alive with, this is it. It's a civil war now. So, I mean, the fact that that's just this automatic thing,
fever dream,
because it fever dream and enabled by the fantasy infrastructure of the internet. I mean, and again, it doesn't have to be everybody says that, and it doesn't have to be everybody, and everybody isn't a Magan, right? You know, but you know, a quarter of us are, and you don't need many thousands of people to pick up one of their 5 AR-15s to, you know, cause a lot of trouble. So that's the problem. But yes, Jill.
Yes.
Here's
I just want to say this, Greg. Here's what I mean about I want a divorce, or I'm for the breakup, in terms of emotionally coming from it. I'm not speaking about the culture wars, and I'm not speaking except the result of them. Yes, and I'm not saying I don't want these people. It's not about the people. It's the power, what's happening as a result of what the people are actually electing, codifying, wanting to happen in terms of our leadership in the direction of the country. It's about the future. This isn't, I have a different idea of what America is than the folks in power now, than the power center has right now. I have a different understanding of it. I have a different wish for the future for my child. I have you know, and I would like it to also sort of like, let's try some new shit here, right? It's not about clinging to some way things were. Let's just go back to it. It's not about that.
No.
It's about a new, I would like a vision for the future. This future that's happening in our present right now, that is being offered up as what America is and where America is headed, to me, is an existential threat. And so I'm not interested in it. And I don't want acts of violence against it. I just want to be separated from it. Yeah. And I don't care if everybody that comes with me is Republican. It's not about that. It's about I just, you know, I am for rights. What are we at? Something $1 trillion. We're at the deficit. I can't with the deficit right now. And we're never recovering from this. Financially, never recovering from this. I can't with what the market is doing, and how the fusion of this sort of corrupt regime that's taken over, the gangsters in there, and how they fused themselves with every fundamental building block of our economy, as part of an engine of corruption and self-enrichment. That's what I mean. You cannot do that. That's fucking
well,
done.
if you're talking
That's
about
done.
If you're talking about the rich people giving themselves extraordinary power to remain as rich as possible and not pay enough taxes and all the rest, yes, that is really hard to undo. It's undoable because 50 years ago, you know, it was working okay. 80 years ago, you know, in my childhood, you know, through the 50s and 60s and 70s, this was becoming one of the most economically equal countries on earth, as well as, you know, finally civil rights movements, pretty fully democratic at last.
Right.
So, no, turning that back, you know, you can turn that forward again. But once
I just don't want to move to the Netherlands.
Well,
You know what I mean?
Maastricht
Like
is really nice.
Well, and, you know,
Maastricht is a
my
great
great
city.
grandparents, Denmark. They all think I'm Danish when I show them my credit cards. You know,
It's that
but no,
EN, you know.
I don't either. But it's that's the thing. It's just hard. And again, when I go home to Nebraska, when I my wife and I took a trip through the South a few years ago for a couple of weeks, which I just between us called our antebellum tour of the South. But
Between us.
It's when you meet real people and talk to them, I don't know what this guy thinks about X, Y, or Z, or but he seems like a decent guy, and he helped me when I got a flat tire, kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, the fact that as Natalie complains about in the breakup, everything doesn't have to be seen through a political frame, and both this president and by the way, let's not leave out big tech and social media. Mm-hmm. Those are business models based on keeping everybody riled up, so they keep looking and keep watching and keep clicking and keep watching ads. That's right. I mean, and that could be not eradicated, but fixed or mitigated, certainly. So, I mean, it can be made better. But again, they say, "Oh, you're a socialist. You're all communists." Well, okay. We all have wing nuts on all sides of things, but you're run by wing nuts. It's not as though the worst democratic socialist nut jobs have taken over the Democratic Party. They haven't. They have your party. The worst nut jobs that you have are running the show. Yeah. I mean, and in addition, the most incompetent people. Right. So I mean, fascism, Nazism, famously, the line was, well, at least the trains run on time. Well, not under our fascism. It's the trains go off the rails. I mean,
no, they can't flush the toilets. Yeah.
So quickly, I wanted to circle back to the woke thing, because you're right. The whole litmus test woke bullshit is. I'm not talking about, oh my God, you didn't capitalize the word black in this sentence. You're a terrible person. We can't ever talk to you again. You said colored people instead of people of color, which to me pure linguistically is so fucking stupid that I can't even. I get why we have to do it, but on paper, it makes no sense at all. I'm talking about white people shouldn't be able to go through Tulsa and just burn down black businesses and lynch people. Well, and nor should ICE be able to kill George Floyd and this sort of. That's what I'm talking about.
Could you be able to pay a woman less because she's a woman? Any of this stuff.
All of that stuff. And that most people are for it. Most people agree with that.
And we had that going, right? And again, and by the way, let's do as the rest of the world is doing, including, of course, China, spectacularly, shift away from fossil fuels. The sooner the better. I mean, all that stuff that is just like, to the degree this MAGA Trump right, their animating desire is let's upset the liberals. That's just a stupid way to proceed. I mean, but that's what they're doing. It's like a bunch of 13-year-old boys running the country, and if we're all in a simulation, running the simulation.
Running the simulation.
I got Stephanie talking about that too. But at least they have high tea. They have high tea, Kurt.
Well, they do. That's what's that's why we know they're adolescent boys running the simulation, because they got the high tea.
They got the high tea. Which
all I hear is Gilded Age high. We're having high tea.
Like we're having high tea at Lady Astor's house.
At Lady Astor's house.
Okay, before we release you,
before we go, Kurt.
What are you going on book tour? Like, what are you doing? What's your?
I mean, there have not been for decades the old kind of 20 city tour very much, but I am, and I'm happily. I don't want to say it and jinx it, but I'm going to be way too much for your taste on MS Now next week, for instance. So that's nice. Good. That's good. Great. Okay. And you're the first actual of these that I've done, so it's a pleasure.
Oh my gosh!
I've opened out of town on
I love it.
We're the Provincetown Players. Pleased to be
there. You go. Yeah. And I'm going to Washington on Tuesday night and doing a thing there, and going out to my home state, going around.
Nice.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. Well, keep us apprised. You know,
You'll be apprised.
We'll be apprised.
You know,
Okay.
I am being a self-promotion social media whore like
Thank
nobody's
God.
business.
We love it.
Okay.
We
Tell
love
us
you
the
for
release
it.
date one more time. Everybody can pre-order.
It
now.
is
You can
Tuesday,
pre-order.
August 18th, next Tuesday. Pre-order,
Okay.
and soon you can just go into your local bookstore or whatever, wherever you buy books, and buy it.
I
There you
promise
go.
you, it's a great read. And
Good.
I
That's
haven't
good.
Yeah.
picked up a book, and I don't know how long, and been like, oh my God, I'm going to read this book.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
so that was my
Yeah, and let me
response. I
add,
can't wait.
as somebody who has never listened to an audiobook until this one, and I'm in the middle of it, it's a great listen, man. Seven
Okay.
actors performing this book.
How fun.
7.
Yeah.
How great.
Yeah.
I
That's
love
good.
it.
All right. Again, the book is called The Breakup. And if you and anybody that's watching this hasn't read your other, Evil Geniuses in Fantasyland, get those too.
Yes.
Get those.
Here
immediately.
it is.
Oh yeah, let's
Oh
see
my
it.
God.
Okay. We just have it in
Oh,
PDF.
it is.
There
it
it is.
big.
Thank
Look at
you.
that.
It's a real thing.
It's big.
That's a nice size thing.
It's
there. I
big.
like that.
You know,
That's
I
an
mean, if you
object.
like it, then what's big? A big ice cream sundae.
I
Exactly.
love it.
I'm reading a longer book about a tour through Yugoslavia in 1937. So
There you go.
your book
All
is a lot more entertaining. I will say. I'm just going to say right
Yeah.
there. You can put that on the cover.
But look what happened to Yugoslavia. So it's the same book.
I know
It's the
basically
same book.
the same book. It's the
Kind
same
of.
book. Kurt Andersen, thanks so much for coming back.
I love talking to you guys.
We love having you.
love having you.
Having you.
Great.
Good luck with the book. Good luck.
Thank
with
you.
Good luck with the book.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, hon. Yay.
All right. Always good to see Kurt, man.
Ah,
He's great.
God.
He's great.
And just have conversation. That's wonderful. Okay.
I know. You
All right.
asked very nice questions about
Thank you.
about his process and stuff, which is always interesting to me.
Oh, good.
Okay, Chunk is done with the video, but I didn't want to play it while Kurt was on because I was afraid it would start in the middle of him talking. About
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. We don't know about
So
tech.
I'm
yeah.
uploading it now.
Okay. Let's see it.
I don't know. It's uploading. I don't know if
It's
gonna
uploading.
start.
Okay. Well, wait. Let's buzz
If it-
through these. We don't need to do 8 minutes. Just
No.
this week
Let's
in
do
Epstein-
shell shock. Let's flip. Shell shock is basically one thing, which I'll read.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
FinCEN, which I don't know what it is. That's the financial thing that does the thing.
Yeah.
Part of the U.S. Department of Treasury
Mhm.
removes the requirement for U.S. companies and persons to report beneficial ownership info. Not only that means that shell corporations are just shells. We have no idea. It might be Natalie. It might be Asher. We have no idea who owns this.
The opacity is, it's a black hole. That's what my mother
And
said.
they're going to delete all the information from the existing database.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Is David Bogatin still alive? Because maybe he could sell some condos at Trump Tower again. It'd be very
It's
exciting.
pretty bad. It's just a license for corruption. This is what I'm saying. There's no coming back from this stuff, right?
Yeah.
They're removing the ability of any future watchdog.
It's insane.
It's insane. It's insane. It's insane. And now you won't know, and the government won't know, and the government they can't track. You can't track trafficking. You can't track any of the financial crimes, lest anybody forget that part of how even getting to Osama bin Laden came out of FinCEN. So it's you can't, to take away the ability to track the money that terror networks make and use. Why do you think they exist? They don't exist for just these are gangs of criminals that are there profiteering, and half of the shit that they do is just whatever, because they're running drugs through Afghanistan, or they're running guns, or they're running human beings, so all of that, it is a gangster's paradise is what it is.
Well, you know what? It
Gangster's
just occurs
paradise.
to me. Maybe the crypto is going away. Because this means that I think maybe they don't like the crypto getting paid. And the whole reason crypto exists is so criminals can pay each other.
Pretty
Sorry,
much.
it's the new cash for criminals pay, but it's not working. The value isn't holding. So they're like, we'll just get rid of this. And then your shell can pay my shell, and Semyon can get his cut, and we can all be happy.
It's pretty bad.
That's it.
I've got lots of screenshots and lots of printed copies
I
of
know.
the offshore lease database.
You had the
tracked all
offshore,
that money.
that's not governmental. That'll still be there.
It's not governmental, but it's not. It's now any information you find in that or had in that. There's no future of that. There's no leak. There will be no leak.
Not
there's
in the
nothing
United
to
States.
leak.
Europe
there's
is going to
nothing-
get this fucker. They're going to get these fuckers.
I don't know.
No, I don't know. I
The
have faith
banks
in-
all come. All they have to do is bank through us. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I'm talking about Epstein, but
this is insane. Okay.
All right. You want to watch the song now, or do you want to wait till the end?
No, we'll wait to the end. Okay, so
Okay.
just this week at Epstein Files, I just want to be quick about it because there's so much, guys. There's so much happening. There's so much we didn't talk about this week. I can't even keep up with it all. But just to sort of highlight, because we did this last week, there's a lot happening around Epstein and all this kind of stuff that's absolutely mind-boggling. But at least Katie Fang. God bless her. She was on CNN. So I know that and she was talking about the notes that are actually being, the FBI handwritten notes that are being withheld are the FBI handwritten notes taken from the victim that they found as a credible victim and interviewed her 4 times.
Katie Johnson.
Katie Johnson, who claimed that when she was 13, she was brutalized and raped by Donald. So that's what this judge is trying to get, Todd Blanche has to do this. Here's what happened. That was one we talked about last week, the 3 things that the Department of Justice is required by law to hand over, and they are refusing to hand over. And that's the big one, the FBI handwritten notes. There's 2 other things as well. So they of course didn't, and came up with a new excuse of because there's discordance or something, or the dissonance. I think he used that word, the federal prosecutor. There's dissonance between this record and that record, first time that's ever been introduced. And so using that now as a reason and excuse to not release the files on Trump. It's not even the Epstein files anymore. It's the Donald Trump files. That's what's being hidden. So, and we know it is, and it's admitted it is, they just won't hand it over. So now Judge Sullivan has said, basically, here's the precedent specifically for me as a judge where I've held the Department of Justice in contempt of court. And I have done it before, and I will do it again. And if you do not produce these things, you're going to be, he's going to hold them in contempt. And I don't know who arrests them.
It's not a threat, it's a promise. I believe
it's not a threat, it's a promise, he said.
I think they do have a mechanism internally to do that.
I don't know.
Rusty the bailiff will get him. He's right there.
Okay, the bailiff. Anyway, that's what's happening. And that's the big news there. There's lots of other news, but that's the big news. Okay.
That's the big one. Hugh Hefner. Did you see this? Hugh Hefner.
I saw. Yeah, that's old, actually. That had
I didn't
come
know
out.
that. I didn't know that. But he reported on an Epstein thing a million years ago, several times, and then the FBI just didn't do anything with it. So when Hugh Hefner is on the side of truth, I don't even know. This is what I mean. We're all in the upside down.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Jeffrey Epstein had valuable information, and he traded it and traded it and traded it and traded it in order to not
he did
get caught until he couldn't trade anymore.
And my last thing is that I had Ellie Leonard on Prevail this morning, and she found some sourcing in the Epstein files suggesting that on November 13th, 2016, which was my 44th birthday, very important. Jeffrey Epstein went to Trump Tower and met with Donald Trump.
That's correct.
And that's when Trump was talking about the cabinet stuff. And nobody saw him come in. But as we know from our friend Carter Page, you could go in the other building and go to the atrium. Yeah. You can go up, as Ellie explained, you can get in there through the parking garage. There's many ways to get in there without being seen.
He was in the transition. He was the transition team, apparently.
He was the transition team.
Yeah.
And, your guy Mnuchin there. I don't know. Maybe there was something. Who knows? But that is a thing that, if that is true, that means that all of Trump's I didn't talk to the guy after I threw him out of Mar-a-Lago in 20 whatever is a lie. I mean, we know it's a lie, but that really proves that it's a lie.
Yeah.
Will anything happen? Probably not. But
no.
Look, this guy, Katie Johnson, on one more point I want to make before we hit the button here. Katie Johnson. There's 2 Katies. Katie Fang went on CNN. And you know what? Also, if Katie Fang was still working for that fucking company that used to employ her, she would not be doing this right now. So sometimes it's good when people get
Sometimes it's
liberated.
good.
Yeah. Jake Tapper, you know, that paragon of journalistic integrity, Jake Tapper, as soon as Katie Fang finished talking about what she'd found about the Katie Johnson and the Trump's name and Tapper was like, well, but Trump says that he didn't do, you know, he was
he was freaking out a little bit. But this is all in court. This is all coming out in court.
It doesn't.
With FBI files.
Are drilled into their heads from their corporate lawyers that they're not allowed to talk about this stuff.
I guess.
I know this is true. And I think Tapper's reaction to what should be an incredibly incendiary. I mean, this ain't fucking Teapot Dome. The Secretary of the Interior didn't take a kickback. Our Secretary of the Interior is Sean Duffy, who's going around making a reality show on our dime. Warren Harding is up there like, what the fuck, man? He's smoking a cigar. Like, I can't even believe this shit, right? The corruption here is staggering. And the fact that Trump did this.
I know.
No one
cares about girls. I know they think they say it. They say it, but
she's on video in February of 2016,
I know,
before Trump is even the nominee. And some of the stuff she says in that interview tracks with what Trump is having ICE do. It's like, if you listen to what she says, nothing about what she says doesn't track with what we know and what we subsequently learned about Donald Trump. That's just how it is. And we're talking about her. We're not talking about Maria, the 12-year-old who nobody knows what happened to her.
What happened to her. Yeah.
You know,
that's in the notes as well.
Yep.
That's in those notes as well.
It's all bad. So
it's all bad, but we love you guys. Listen, here's one way to get through it. One way.
Well, I should set this up. These MAGA, like the rest of us, are just we're depressed and we're just like, how can anybody do anything? You know, and these MAGA people, they're just thinking about hooking up. You know, that's all they care about.
That's all they
care about.
Good night, everybody.
By the way, you can pick up a butt plug or a dildo at Target and CVS nowadays. I don't even know how we got here.
Christy slept with Corey, who also bagged Hope Hicks. And Kim seems like she's a closet dominatrix. Katie smashes Swalwell, gets nasty with Steve Bannon, and then runs off with Elon like she shot out of a cannon. JD likes his couches, and Marco likes his phone. And I'd rather not tell you what they mean by Golden Dome. Ted Cruz is into some sick shit, but Lindsay's shit was sicker. And Joshy gets a stiffy from the Kansas City kicker. Here we go. Here we go. It's MAGA love. MAGA love. Stephen Miller in the cuck chair. Here we go. Here we go. It's MAGA love. MAGA love. MAGA love. MAGA love. Bobby wrote Olivia a poem about his seed. An app on Mike's phone notifies his son when he's in need. Cashy likes them honey pots, and Pete makes Donald drool. But poor Melania's less wet than the reflecting pool. Oh no. Here we go. Here we go. It's MAGA love. MAGA love.